You're listening to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures with Kristin and Polly, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hey, good morning. It's Kristin and Polly with Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures. Happy Wednesday to ya.
Kristin, how are you? I haven't seen you for so long.
It does, I know. Well, the thing is, Polly, when you get a good dose of me, it's very easy to miss me because I'm so wildly charismatic, as you may or may not have gathered with your psychic abilities.
It is true. Oh my God. It's so good to be here, and welcome everybody into the world of Kristin and Polly and their psychic adventures.
And I gotta tell you, we had a full-blown adventure this past weekend. Polly and I were at a retreat in Sedona, the wonderful city of Sedona, in the hills of the beautiful Sedona. I love it there. You know it more than I do. You were a good tour guide.
Well, luckily Sedona really only has two roads. Like two lanes.
That works out well. You know what? And what's unfortunate is having been there for 4 or 5 days now, I didn't even gather that. So two roads.
So there's the little, but we actually, where we were staying, I didn't stay there, but where Kristin and friends were staying was like a one car road, like a one lane. It wasn't a lane because it wasn't paved. And there was
a gravel path.
It was a gravel path with a few tents on the side, which was
yes.
kind of cool.
It really, it got your attention on entrance. You had to really look alive, feel alive, pay attention, be present. Otherwise, you weren't going to quite navigate your way there safely.
And I had to have help when I left at night because it was so dark and dippy and curvy.
You know what? I don't know that I went out there. So were there any lights, like street lights? No. The light of the full moon led you, Polly.
And the moon, every night when we went out, my chaperone, every night when we went out, we were like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I was like, yes, that's amazing. Get in the car, let's go.
And buckle up, let's roll.
Yes. Okay. What's a high vibration moment for you?
Okay, coming off of the retreat, it's going to be retreat based. Oh, you know what? It won't. I'm going to save the retreat to talk about later. Here is my high vibrational moment. My children, the oldest drives herself to school. The younger two, I typically drive to school in the mornings. Obviously, I'm gone, so Daddy-O has to jump in and do the chaperoning, chauffeuring, and all the other duties that come with that. And when I take Will and Liv to school, we always do a very informal morning prayer in the car. As basic as Will usually leads it, sometimes Liv does, sometimes I do. Whoever's feeling it, if someone has a rough morning, they're like, I'm out, you pray for me. But it's as simple as, thank you, God, list a couple things you're grateful for, ask for protection and help with a certain test or issue you're having. And then angels, we invite you in, everybody have a good day. And when I was at the retreat, they told me, my youngest told me, oh, don't worry, Mom, we're still praying. We do it every morning in the car with Dad, too.
Oh, my God, I love that. That is a high
I do, too. It made me feel so good. I was like, all right, they're going to be, because sometimes as a mom, you get a little bit antsy when you leave, and you think, clearly they won't survive without me.
They're going to stop praying.
They're going to stop praying. They're going to stop eating. Everything's going to fall apart. I am vitally important to the well-being of this household. Turns out, they survived and thrived, maybe even.
I love it. Okay, I have to say this. What I think is so cool is because, so we are in deep in the metaphysical world, right? Talking about psychic.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of like our life. But our life is also prayer. And I think so often people don't see how that goes hand in hand. And I love that you brought that up because as important as, the psychic stuff is, even more important is the prayer, right? And so I love that you brought that up.
Yes. And you know what, too? It feels very, that's my comfort zone. Yeah. Having grown up, going to church and praying and talking about Jesus and being educated on that and angels and stuff, that's my comfort zone. That's what feels really, that's what resonates with me when I pray. Because, we're universe, spirit, God, whatever name you want to give the higher power. For me, personally, I go the Christian route. That's what resonates.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I definitely pray to God, God being a higher power. But then I also believe that there are many there's Jesus, there's Buddha, there's so many teachers But it is funny, and I didn't really go to church, but it is funny, like, you do, anyhow, we all find what we feel. Like there's a certain, I don't know, like certain comfort or something in saying Jesus, but just as like I have to remind myself, because I honestly can't say that I know any more about Jesus than I do Buddha, right? Because in my mind they're teachers. So like remind myself of the expansion of all the teachers.
Yes, for sure. And I like that too, because sometimes, like, I have a ton of Jewish friends, very religious, spiritual, and everything. And so that's how they refer to Jesus, as one of the great teachers.
Yeah.
I like that.
And I mean, we've had so many, we have been blessed with so many great teachers, and we have great teachers on earth right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, we do. We do.
And I mean, not just in our families, like how they teach us things, but really in the global, in the world, we have great teachers.
We do.
Okay, let's see. A high vibrational moment for me. Well, I'll tell you. I got home, as you know, drove home from Sedona, and my daughter, my middle child, was here. So that was fun.
Yes.
So that was very fun.
What did you guys do? Did you break bread together?
We broke bread. You know what? We broke bread together. We went for a little hike this morning, and now I have some work to do, and she has homework.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That'll work out well. Will you do it in the same room on your computers together, or will you?
I don't think so. I got to work in my office.
Yeah.
I got to see where the birds, the bunnies, that whole
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Oh, good, because you didn't tell me about this beforehand, so this will be fun to
I know.
put me
Well,
on.
and it's not completely formed. I'm still forming the question in my mind.
Oh,
but what do you think? Oh, I have two questions.
Oh, good.
Okay, I just have to share this with everybody because if I had a camera, I left my phone in my room, but if I had a camera, this photo would have been worth $11 million.
Let me interrupt you for just a second and set the scene. I got to paint the picture so everyone knows what I was going through, and then come back in with your story. After the retreat was
yours. They have to know your fears.
Well, I have a few.
Fears.
I mean, I'm very.
Two of them off this weekend.
Yeah, so I have a couple fears in my life. One is frogs, and that we'll just talk about later. Another is horses. I don't like horses. They don't like me either, so it's not like a one-sided thing. And heights, which I don't normally tell people any of these fears unless I'm put in a situation where they need the information. So we go on a hike. The retreat is over. We're going to reconnect with the earth. And Polly's like, let's go on a hike. Great idea. I love to hike. Now, Polly is a hiker, and the three gals we're with are experienced hikers. I now would label myself as more of a walker. I like to walk through some hills on a safe path. At one point during this hike, I felt as though I was suctioned to the side of a death-defying mountain, fingers gripping in, inner thighs grasping onto the terrain and shimmying along. That is how it felt in my mind. I'm thankful no one did take a photo, because apparently it didn't exactly look like that to the eye.
It was so good, because how tall are you, Kristen? You're pretty tall.
Yeah, about 5'9"-ish.
Okay, so being that Kristen's pretty tall, and it was pretty steep. It was like slick rock stuff. And
yes.
So it looked like Kristen was like kind of downward dog, but walking up the thing in downward dog. And I didn't know that she was truly having a panic attack. I still, as horrible as this sounds, I still would have taken the photo because it was so funny. But yes. I mean, funny, it looks funny. But she made it through. You busted through one of your barriers. Would you be as afraid to do it now?
Oh, for sure. But I would know that I could do it. And I would wear the proper shoes, and I would gear up for it. I think it just came at me. I'm thankful now on the other side of the mountain that I didn't know it was going to be so treacherous and frightening, or I probably wouldn't have done it, or I would have been all wound up. You know how you get in your head and you're anxious about it?
You would have been wound up. You would have done it. You wouldn't have bailed. If other people are saying we're doing it, you wouldn't. What would you have done? Sat by the car?
No, I would have done it. I would have done it. Yeah.
But you would have been panicked walking up to that point.
Yeah, so it's good that I didn't have the anxiety of knowing it was looming, and you guys just hit me with the scale this mountaintop.
Yeah,
Like,
it was so fun. Oh my God.
well, it was funny because I was the only one that was using their hands as well. Everyone else seemed to be navigating this upright, and I was like a spider crawling along the ground.
It was so good. It's a must-do hike. Okay, so but here's my question. Like when we have a fear or a barrier, or I think we kind of talked about it a little bit last week, but when we have a fear or a barrier, like what is this what is the seed that is planted to create that change? What has to happen so that we get over that fear? I mean, it could be a fear of anything. It could be a fear of, moving to another state. It could be a fear of changing a relationship. It could be a fear of whatever. So what is it that plants the seed that creates that avalanche of change?
Sometimes I don't think there is. I don't think there's one thing. And I think it highly matters on how fed up you are with the current situation before you want change. I mean, for me, busting through this fear, it was just the situation allowed for no other option, I felt. Like sometimes you feel a desperation, like, well, this is it. This is all I can do now. Sometimes you feel like, well, I am so miserable here. This change over here could not possibly be any worse. Like the whole rationale, like my misery outweighs the scariness of something new and change.
But the interesting thing is there's like acute and then there's chronic, right? Like there's you were in an acute situation that you're like, boy, this is horrible. But then there are chronic situations that, where people are like, this is horrible. And so, the like you have to, like that energy you had to make it to the top and then going down the other side, you had to muster up a great amount of strength. But it's the same thing if it's a chronic situation, right? Mm-hmm. You still have to muster up a great amount of strength. Like you can't change it unless you muster up that strength.
Well, what's helpful is two things socially. Having people around you, encouraging you and supporting you, and seeing it can be done. Like other people were doing it, so I knew it was humanly possible.
Yeah.
And everyone was my biggest fan, giving me suggestions on how to do it, supporting me, and making me feel good.
Some of them more supportive than others.
Some were just desperate to take a photo, and thank you God that your phone was in the car. And no one rushed out to bust out their phone and take a photo of me.
Nobody else did it because they were much kinder.
Thank you, friends.
Yes. Okay, so that brings up another point, is when you want to make a change, like when there's going to be some major change in your life, don't tell the world.
Exactly.
Just like have like maybe 2 people, 1, 2, 3 people, like a very close circle. I keep it very small. Mm-hmm. And one of them should be somebody professional. You should have a therapist or a life coach, somebody professional. And
that's a good
keep
tip.
Your circle very small as you make these changes. Because I promise you, and again, I don't promise very often, but I promise you, as you start climbing out of whatever hole or climbing whatever mountain you're climbing, it will look different. Like you can make those steps, make the plan, but it will play out a little bit different, but better.
Always better. Yes.
Always better.
Better in ways that you couldn't have even thought. Yeah.
Yes.
And you know what else? When you, like, sometimes when you have a goal, I mean, to change or just a goal or something like that, and if you tell certain people and it's still fresh, and this is hard because when you want something, it's really passionate and it's what
it's exciting.
Yeah, you lead with it, and you have to understand, like, not everyone is going to share your passion with it, and some of them can be like Debbie Downers and squash your energy before you come into full power and make it happen.
Yes.
And that's a tricky part as a parent. You have to be so like switch it to some quiet support even when you're like, well, that's the weirdest, and nope, it's their journey.
Well, and that's actually a very valid point. Like even with our kids, I think that this is something that's important, like to know that not everybody is going to share, like have some stuff that you're working on without broadcasting it, because as we work on things, they take shape, they take form. Like we don't truly know For example, when we do like our affirmative prayer, we're calling in certain things. We don't necessarily know the shape. We know what it's going to feel like.
Yeah.
Right. Often we know what it's going to feel like or what we imagine it's going to feel like. So I think that that's a really important piece is don't broadcast the specifics of what you're doing because you got to allow it to take some form.
Yeah, exactly. And be a good friend. When someone is sharing their goals and what their dreams with you, minimal, just like, I love that for you. Little support where you don't derail or minimize or anything to them. You kind of empower them with just vague encouragement. That's what.
Okay, so here's a question. With that being said, how would you handle if you have a friend that is thinking they're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you're like, oh my God, I don't think that that's very good for you. Like, how do you handle that? Like, how do you support people when you're like, okay, they want to do this, but I just feel like this is a whopper of a mistake. How do you handle that?
Oh my God. So I had a friend who was making some questionable choices. So this is how I handled it. And I'm not sure I did it correctly. But I just asked a few poignant questions like, non-judgmental, but just like, for example, she was leaving her husband very quickly and without thought and without thought. I mean, it just came on like
it's a big thing to do without thought.
There was no plan of attack or thought of, anyway, just the way it all went down, which would be 3 years for me to tell you every detail. But I just felt as though there were some questionable things happening. And as a friend, like, this is what I thought. If I was in that situation and reacting emotionally and as she is, I would want someone to shine some light on a couple issues. So I just asked a couple of questions to try to open her mind and point her in the right direction, and then waited for her to ask, hey, what would you do? She never asked, so I never told. And, then at the end of the day, I was like, man, this is her journey. Like, she's an adult. I've done what I can do. I've given her, some warnings that I feel I can give. At the end of the day, it's her journey and I'm her friend, and here we go.
And you're absolutely right, because we do come in to learn certain lessons and we make choices.
Man, it's hard though. Like, especially the mom in you, even when it's not your children, just having been a mom and having that job of making it, because for so long we are to protect them and make their journey safe and easy, and then all of a sudden you turn a corner and you're like, well, I've given you certain coping skills and problem solving ideas, and now I guess I'll watch you do your thing.
But as a life coach, I think it's very interesting because people can be like adamant about like, I would never do this. My life sucks, and I could make like, well, if you thought about X, Y, and Z, and they're like, I could never do that, never do that. And then 6 months later, they're starting to do it, right? And so I think that's the piece is like, we have to allow people, including ourselves, to move in a time that is manageable, right? Because like, we have to allow ourselves to be able to process life as it comes to us, process these changes as they occur, process everything in a manageable way. And so we have to look at, okay, like your friend or, whoever, they could have been processing something completely different when she like decided to leave her husband. She could have been processing that and something else. Like, it was helping her process some other grief or some other loss, right? And,
For sure.
And we have to just allow the idea that life has many layers.
Many layers.
And when we think that we are upset about X, Y, and Z, it could be A, B, and C. And when we think we're processing this, we're processing this and that.
Mm-hmm. Completely. And that reminds me of a portion of your retreat where we were releasing things, and it happened to me, it happened to a couple others, where I had a goal of what I wanted to release from my experience, from my life experience. I was done with it, I'm releasing it. and other things began to release, and I was feeling other emotions, and it was layers, I believe. It was like other stuff that needed to be processed and felt and handled before that finality of what I really wanted to release was gone. Like there were steps.
Yeah. But isn't it interesting? I mean, I just think it's so interesting that we come in and we live this life, that we accumulate stuff that we hold in our energy, we hold in our body, we hold in our mind. That we have to actually, it's like an exercise, right? So just like, you're the Pilates person and I do whatever I do. It's like an exercise to release. It's an exercise to remember joy. It's an exercise to make changes. It doesn't, like, you can have healthy lifestyles where you're moving energy and you're making good choices and taking care of yourself, but it's an intentional exercise to really shift the stuff that we've acquired, or to remember to choose joy, or to remember that we can have a beautiful life. It's not hard. Well, it is hardwired into us, but for whatever reason, we get crap piled on top of it to see it, right?
Yes, it's very purposeful living. Like you can't just get up and willy-nilly your way through the day. Like there are certain things that are going to hit you wrong, and you have to really recognize that and make a conscious effort to think a different thought, to feel a different way, to focus on something else. It's very purposeful living, which is hard. It's not exactly easy.
But it gets easier.
It does.
It does get easier. And the other thing, I mean, I always go back, like you mentioned at the very beginning, community, the importance of community.
Yes.
Even if you just have 2 or 3 people that you feel like I can share this stuff with them, they support me, and when I go out of alignment, they remind me, they ask questions to bring me back into my circle, into where I'm safe.
Yes, for sure. And that is one of the things that I love about community, that I love about your psychic development class on Sunday night. I always feel such a strong sense of community in that. Like it's very supported. And it was funny too, because so many of those faces, we do a Zoom meeting, so many of those faces I know so well, and I know their background in their Zoom call. And then I got to meet them at the retreat, and that was so fun. No one is ever the same height I think they are, though.
Isn't that true?
It's like, I bet, do you get all the time, wow, you're taller than I thought?
All the time.
Yep. Yeah.
All the time. So they must, isn't it funny that for some reason people think I'm really short?
Yeah. And I don't know why.
That's so funny. It is so funny. Yeah, it's really fun. I love meeting people that I haven't met in person. And
yes.
Yeah, and I will always say that what I cherish about the work I do is the community, right? It's the community.
Yeah, it's good. And it was fun too, like seeing everyone greet each other at the beginning of the retreat, and then all the hugs and love at the end. Like it was a
difference.
Yes, but you can't help but go through a weekend of complete like energetic transformation and not get a little emotional at the end. It was good.
Oh, jeez.
What was that?
Oh my gosh. It's a hawk. Can I swear?
Yes.
A damn hawk. They go after those damn things. They go after like my lovebirds and the quail.
No. Did it fly into the glass window?
No, it chases the birds into the windows. It is so smart.
Hawks?
Oh my God, they're so smart.
Really?
They will fly in. They like, and I know I've said this before, but they know like when I feed the bunnies too. They know when everything is like, when I have all this activity, they come down at that time and they swoop in, and things get so scared they fly up and fly into my window. So I don't know. I'm hoping all my beautiful friends got away from that thing.
Oh my gosh, that's just the price you pay for being Snow White in the desert.
It is the hawks and the roadrunners.
Okay, I have never seen a Roadrunner in person, and my reference of what a Roadrunner is that cartoon that I grew up watching. And then when I saw one from your window, I was blown away. Like they're smaller than I thought.
But you know what they do? They, like, somebody described them as like the great white shark of the desert because they'll eat anything.
Oh.
But they have their, like when they trot around or whatever they do, they stick their head out. And so they are constantly in search of food. And they love babies. They love babies that can't get
Oh my
away.
gosh.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But that's desert life. That's beyond my scope of whatever. Okay, so, what do you think? Okay, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, if anyone's interested in calling in for a reading or a chat or a tarot card or anything, please call in 323-203-0815. We are here for you.
Oh, look at that. The number automatically popped up in gold.
Oh, we'll see. Isn't that meant to be? I love that.
Okay, so what do you think, like, when you, like, how do you process, like, how do you personally process, like, if you're going through, if you're having a big, like, we could say, like, the retreat or some other thing that you're going through, like, how do you process all that energy? Because you're having so much, you're like, it's like you're a tea bag, like, you know, how you put the little peppermint tea in hot water, and then, So how do you process everything that's, like, shifting around inside of you? Do you need to take a nap? What do you need to do?
I need to move.
Okay.
But I also need to go to bed early. I have found out. Like, I don't know that I really thought that was the case, but just like I'm basing it all on the energy that was shifted this weekend. Like, if I sit and marinate in the energy, and it feels good, like it's positive energy, but I get things are moving. And at one point, a bunch of grief came up, and I just had to go take an emotional moment and rest, like physically rest my body. About 20 minutes and was fine.
Is that when I asked you if you took a nap? Like you came back downstairs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You sensed that about me. But it was when...
You just look different. And so I asked if you took a nap. You look refreshed.
Oh, good. That's the look I'm always going for, but rarely achieve. Yeah, so it depends, I guess, on what emotion or what energy comes up. If it's something like grief, nobody loves to be sad, but sadness, grief, all that really takes its toll on me. I don't like those things. So I like to lay down and just regroup. That renders a rest. Other energy moving, like typically anything else, I just want to move my body. Now, I don't want a death-defying hike necessarily, but I love a good walk, maybe yoga, maybe Pilates, like a workout session, but definitely some movement where I can get back in the physical and out of my head.
Okay, what do you think about okay. Ask me in just a minute about the music, the sound healing, but the movement of the shaman, like that movement, did that help you process and release?
Not really, no. So I guess I need to be more specific about what movement I like. I don't like a forced community movement. Like, it was almost too structured in that this is what we were going to do and this is the expectation. I think I need to I need to be, and I like to be outside when I'm moving. I love a good, like, even if it's yoga, like outside, feeling the wind, the sun, the smells, all the goodness. The forced dance movement to like wiggle out energy and open chakras, that doesn't resonate with me. I do my best to be a team player and participate. Sometimes my facial expression shows that I'm not enjoying myself to the fullest, as you might gather.
Isn't that interesting? Because for other people, it was like, the doors open wide and their dreams came to life, like their nocturnal dreams, like they really process that. So I think that's the other thing to remember is that we're all different and we all have different things that help us process and receive, and it's not a one thing for everybody. And it's important to remember that.
Yes. So many different modalities for so many different people with so many different needs. Now, the sound healing, I was all about that.
Yeah, that surprised me. That was very cool. And so many different, normally I don't like that because I don't like the chaoticness of sound healing. Like sometimes they have like, it's peaceful, going to jarring, going to whatever. And this was all like, I don't even know what they were, non-traditional instruments. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I would say that's a good way to summarize it. Did you fall asleep?
I could have. I didn't, though.
Yeah.
I kept peeking out. But for example, I never knew who was, like other people knew who was playing what instruments. I had no idea. But you know how it was so unorganized, but it just worked? Like, and they went
Yes.
and they put like um, it's not chime. What was that thing?
Harp?
The harp. They would go around and they'd put the harp on you so you'd feel the vibrations.
Yes.
They'd like blow into that tree trunk thing when they were hauling around. And
yes. And they would blow like right. Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah. So you'd feel all these vibrations. But so what it kind of made me think of is, have you ever seen like the beginning of like say you have an egg that's fertilized. Oh, we have a caller.
Oh, we do.
We'll have to come back to the egg that's fertilized because it's such a good story.
Put a pin in that. Caller, hello, you're with Kristin and Polly. How are you? Are you there, caller? Caller, can you hear us? Oh, I hear you a little bit.
Shoot.
Maybe they'll call back.
Okay, so back to the egg.
Back to the fertilization of the egg.
Okay. And have you seen it when it starts splitting? Have you seen those, like the little videos of when it starts splitting?
Yes.
Right. And so you think about that. The egg, it starts as one cell. Well, then it has the sperm. So there's two cells. It starts splitting and then it continues to split and evolve and evolve. And those cells miraculously over time, right? Because that's how you and I started, or everything started. Over time become specific cells. That's what that music reminded me of, because it was so chaotic, but it worked.
Yes. Oh my, that's a really interesting analogy.
Yes, I know. Craziest thing. But that's what it reminded me of. I was thinking about that this morning. It worked. Like it was so different, and it brought up so many different things, but it worked.
It totally worked. And it didn't feel overwhelming. I felt stimulated, but not in a like, oh my God, what's happening way.
You were asleep.
This is true. I do believe I might have fallen asleep sitting upright.
I don't know how stimulated you were.
Did anyone else fall asleep?
I think, yeah, because one person said that like on her Fitbit watch, it said she was sleeping.
Oh, I love that for her. Okay.
Well, you know what we can do? Let's do this for the caller. Okay, you know what? When we do the cards today, we're going to pull a card for the caller.
Yes.
Just because since that caller's call didn't go through, we couldn't really hear you, caller.
Yes.
Okay, so that kind of reminded me of like, is it mitosis? It's really sad that I don't remember that stuff anymore.
I think it is. Meiosis, mitosis.
We're not going to get the Pulitzer Prize.
You know what? That's okay, because we have other gifts.
Okay, so yeah, that's what that reminded me of. And then the equine therapy, we had a little dip into equine therapy, which I really wanted Kristin to experience because
of my horse fear. Which, you know what? I have a theory too. Okay, and I've told you this theory, possibly even on air. The whole statement of life begins outside your comfort zone. But it's a gray area sometimes, because my comfort zone was not hiking up that death-defying mountain. Yet, I handled it with support from my fellow hikers and made it through and feel better about myself afterwards. So that was outside my comfort zone, and it all went well. Had I been trying to push myself outside my comfort zone and planned a crazy hike, I don't know that would have been my jam. So I don't know how I feel about that.
I agree. I'm not big into saying life begins outside your comfort zone. I totally agree. That's not my... I mean, I actually believe that we should have peace in our life, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and we should strive for peace in our life. And so I don't agree life outside our comfort zone, because outside your comfort zone isn't necessarily peace, but I believe what it takes is to recognize what in your life is not bringing your peace or is holding you stuck, where you can't make these changes. So you're right. It's that gray area. Because people can feel at peace in chaos. People can feel at peace in in grief, because that's what's normal to them.
Ooh,
and so what they think is peace is chaos and misery, or oppression or whatever, because that's what they think is normal. And so they've created like these, ways of moving through it.
Yeah.
And so then you do have to find a way outside of that. I'm sorry, what was that?
No, I was just going to say, when you were speaking, it reminded me of a million years ago when I was seeing a therapist, and she said something and it really resonated and stuck with me. And then I was trying to formulate, like, I'm going to butcher her quote, but it was something along the lines of, like, I was going through a relationship issue and it was just very dramatic to me. And she said, like, if you're feeling bored and you're craving a little excitement and drama, put it in a different area of your life and let the relationship area be just secure and peaceful and a rock. And let the dramatic area be something else. Like, pick another area of your life that it's safe to have a little like upheaval. I do too.
That's so good.
And I've said that to several people since then. Like, let that be your peaceful, strong rock area, and then have a little shenanigan over here.
Do
like
love that. Mm-hmm. And how funny that she picked up that you might be feeling bored or right.
I'm a Gemini. Oh, okay, caller is back. Hello, caller. Are you with us?
Hi there.
Well, welcome. How are you? This is Kristen and Polly. Can I have your name?
Melissa.
Melissa, welcome. How can we help you today? Do you have a question for us?
Yeah, so my husband and I, we are family planning right now, and we're discussing if we should have another kid. And my question is, am I going to have another baby?
Ooh. Melissa, that's a big question. Do you want to, how old, do you have like a toddler at home right now? Because I see a little, I don't know, like a year old or something. Do you have a toddler at home right now, or a year old baby at home?
Hello, if y'all are talking, I can barely hear you.
Polly's asking if you have a toddler at home with you right now, Melissa?
Or like a year old.
Melissa, are you still there? All right. I think we've lost communication with Melissa.
Okay.
But maybe we can give her some guidance. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk about this. So, I mean, I would ask Melissa, like what I said, like toddler, year-old baby, because I see one sitting up, like for photos or something. But I mean, I would say this: if there's ever a really big question, like should I move to a different state? Should I have another baby? Should I get married? Whatever. I mean, I love that people will ask those, that people trust psychics for that. But ultimately, I feel like you have to turn inward and because that's such a big question. So you have to dive in deep. Like, how do you really feel? Like, if you think of having a baby, does it excite you or does it make you tired? And I feel like there's something with this person, with Melissa calling in. I feel like there's something with mother-in-law or some type of, I don't think it could be her parents, but there's something about in-laws or parents that there's like a little, I don't know if they get pressure or if they take care of a baby, but there's some little stickiness with that. And so I think I would take a step back and make this decision. And it's also funny, Melissa, because I see you almost, there's kind of, I don't know if you and your husband are kind of at odds at this, but I feel like you feel like ultimately it just feels like this decision is yours. Different, like you and your husband don't necessarily feel completely at sync. And I guess the way I would put it, that seems kind of interesting to me, is it feels like there's several people that feel like they have input in it. So I don't know if people are telling you, when's the next one coming or whatever it is, but it just feels like there's several people giving their input into it. And ultimately you and your husband get to, I mean, it's a big thing. I don't know why they show me this from you. Like, it's so interesting. Like, they just show me how it's almost like you're more aligned with those in-laws making a decision than your husband. But if I could hear you, we would talk about it. But it's kind of funny. You're more in line with your parents or the in-laws or something. It's kind of interesting how they show me. But I'll pull a card while Kristen shares.
I feel like I'm just constantly reminded when I was pregnant, like your mother's intuition is so strong. It truly is a thing. And so going inward, like Polly said, is vital. It's so important just to really take a moment and think about how you feel when you picture certain things about being pregnant, about having a baby, about raising a family. How do you feel? And really honor that. Like, how do I feel? Does it make me thrilled? Does it make me anxious? Does it make me happy? Do I like feeling like it makes me feel? And then you know best. Like mother's intuition, you have to trust yourself. Yeah.
And you can always put things on the back burner, right? You don't have to decide to have a baby right now. You could say, well, in 2 years, it'll be better. Or not. Maybe right now is perfect. I'm going to pull a card for you really fast. But go ahead and find us on Instagram, Melissa, if you're comfortable. And,
yes, on Instagram, it's truth.wellness.psychic, and you can follow us there. You can send us a DM.
Yeah, send us a DM. And if you have a question, if you have a more specific question or you want, you just send a DM and we'll dive into it more. Mm-hmm. Let me pull a card for you.
Polly's website is pollywirum.com.
Look what she got. The universe.
Ooh, the universe.
And that's really, I mean, Melissa, that's a beautiful card. And it's really just reminding you that it's like everything is at your hand. It's like there are no limits to your choices, right? You can have whatever you want. If you want to put it off for 2 years, 3 years, do whatever you, like if you want to go back to school and then you can do whatever you want. You are absolutely fully 100% supported. That is a beautiful card. I love that for you. Take a step back. Take a step back and really see like what feels best to me right now. Because it's there is no rush. You get to decide. Mm-hmm. Hallelujah.
I love that card. That's a good one.
That's a really good one. Mm-hmm. Very good one. Thank you, Melissa. But please reach out to us because I want to continue this conversation with you.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we just only got a sampling. Okay, we have about 9 minutes left. Should we pull a card for the energy of the week?
We absolutely should.
All right.
Yes, we should. Let us see. Are you going to go first?
Yes, let me flip through these, make the right choice here. All right, here we go. I'll show you here. It's the acceptance, harmony, and I love this because how peaceful does this guy look? For those just listening, I'll describe it. It's just a guy with a robe, bright light behind him, hands holding like a flower or a flame. It's just very, very peaceful. And it's the acceptance, harmony. I think it's a lot of reassurance, a lot of like just accepting what is and knowing that it's okay and knowing that all will be well, acknowledging that it's safe to speak your truth. But yeah, just harmony and soaking it up, like taking a moment just to absorb all the peace that's around you and really hone in on that. And then know that you'll be fine. Like there's no pressure. There's no pressure, only harmony.
I love that. Okay, interesting. I just pulled the universe for Melissa, which is a very powerful card. Guess what? I got two very powerful cards for this week. One of them, because they came out together, one of them is the moon, and one of them is the Hierophant.
Ooh, tell me about that one. I don't even know that last one.
Yeah, okay. Well, the overall thing here is the moon is emotions. And so it's like really, I feel like tap into your strongest emotion. You're going to have, what they're showing me is there's like, you can just imagine like streams of emotions going by. Tap into your strongest emotion and just write it out. Don't go from, emotion to emotion to emotion. There's going to be one that's strongest and just trust that that's what you should be feeling right now. I mean, it's going to change throughout the day, but as you live your life, try to stay in the emotion that is the most powerful emotion because there's something there for you. There's something, it will take you somewhere.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just have to see how that plays out. But there's something to really being connected to that most powerful emotion that you're feeling at any given moment. Don't be afraid of it. Mm-hmm. Stay with it and see where it takes you because there's lesser emotions on like these little currents next to it. but they're not the ones for you. So
what I like best about that is that you actually have to take a moment and tune in to really acknowledge what you're feeling and feel it. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, the Hierophant, I love this. Like, he's got, in this particular one, oh my God, he's got all this ancient, like connection to ancient ways, this connection to ancient wisdom, this connection to this knowing. It's a beautiful time to be, it's almost like, imagine this, you can be a bridge, like you can walk that bridge. I will say that you can access that bridge that is between this earth life and this expanded vision or this expanded self. And perhaps the emotion takes you to that place. But I really feel like this week holds the ability for you to connect to this wiser self, the ability to be this wiser self. So you might find yourself making these decisions that you're like, where did that come from? Where did I get the bravery to make this choice? Where did I get the ability to see that this person isn't exactly what they say they are? Where did I get this? So there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of strength, there's a lot of internal knowing, there's a lot of being comfortable in who you are. And that could very well be the reason why we need to tap into that emotion and go with it, because there's a ton of strength. This card has a lot of strength for you to make really good choices. And I love that for you. Also, take time by yourself. It's very much like turn inward, spend time by yourself, do some journaling, really get to know who you are without other people's thought process about who you are. Take time for yourself. And Melissa, this can be for you also. Step back from other people's opinion. And I'll just put this out there to everybody. Whatever the dilemma, this is inner wisdom, truth, love it. Soul wisdom, soul growth, love it, love it, love it. So.
Yes, when you were saying it's almost like you have to peel all the ick away and really get to you've just covered it up with circumstance and pressure and thoughts and the way things should be and limited beliefs. Peel it all back and
Peel it all back. Absolutely. Listen to yourself. I mean, it's great. We've been talking this hour so much about trusting our friends, have those people in our life. So important. But also, find a friend in yourself. Learn to trust yourself. Learn to trust yourself. And still, having that community is so important. But this week is really about turning inward and learning to trust yourself, because and I love that for you. Pay attention to how you're connecting to the earth. Pay attention to how you're connecting beyond, how you're expanding. Love that for you. Love that for all of us.
Yay.
Okay.
That's a good way to end. I love that vibe.
I do too. Those are great cards.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great week.
Excellent week, people.
Excellent week. Okay. So you know what? I'll have to text you. I think I might have a conflict next week, but I will.
I definitely do.
Oh, hallelujah. Praise Jesus, as we say.
It was meant to be. Thank you, God.
Okay. To learn more about me, go to pollywirum.com, and you can find my writing on Your Tango, which is like an online news platform, or Eden Magazine. And lovely Kristin.
You can find more about me on garagepilates.net, and then follow us on Instagram, truth.wellness.psychic, and you can get all our info there. You can watch previous episodes of this show by clicking on our link. The options are endless. And Melissa, please reach out to us and send us a follow-up message.
And whoever, DM us.
Yes, Melissa and everyone else.
We love a good DM. It makes us happy. It brings joy to our life.
So happy.
Yeah. Okay. And let's see if there's anything else for us. It must be because of you, Kristin. I'm seeing the butterflies.
I love a good butterfly.
Yes. Okay. Well, everybody have a beautiful week, and we will see you next Wednesday. It'll be at this time. It will probably be pre-recorded, is what it sounds like.
Yes. So, entertaining nonetheless.
But we appreciate you, and have a beautiful week.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures with Kristin and Polly, only on LA Talk Radio.